Well, good morning everybody. It's Sarah here at Rare Crafts, and I thought we could do a little craft with me and I could show you what I have been doing this week. It's been quite an exciting crafty week for me. Julia McNeil from JMC Designs very kindly asked me to join her design team. So obviously I very excitedly said yes and set about creating something special to celebrate being asked to join, because obviously that's something really special, being asked to create things for a brand. So this tray in front of you is what I've been making and creating this week to do something with Julia's latest collection, which was called Autumn Allspice. Now, the collection is already released. I was asked to join the team just after that collection had released. So you can go on over to Julia's website, to her Etsy store, and pick up the designs there. I'll leave all the links for her channel and her Facebook group and her Etsy shop and all that sort of stuff. I'll leave all the links down below. So without further ado, let's look at what we've got here. So some of this stuff is embellishments that I've bought, but the majority of it is stuff that I have been creating over the last few days. Now, in hindsight, it probably would have been a good thing to do a few short craft with me tutorial type videos to sort of show you how I got to where I got to, but I was in such a hurry and so excited to get started on this project that I didn't do that. So let's pop the tray off to one side and we'll put the camera into a better angle, and then I'll start showing you what's in this tray. So what I decided to make is, it's something that I've been thinking of making for a while, and I actually made one for my in-laws' golden wedding celebration, and actually we had some leftovers, so I'm going to make some bunting. Now, you will probably recognise, for those of you that are in the UK, these white bunting strips. It is in fact the stuff that you get from Poundland in the wedding section, just the cheap white on a ribbon. I think you get 20 pennants in the strip. So I've decided to do 9 because that will hang nicely on one side of my craft room. So to start with, all I've done is back each one of the pennants to make them a little bit sturdier, because I'm going to hang things on them, but also because I like that little bit of contrast and texture that you've got in the background. I chose to back it with some Hessian papers that I'd got in various 12 by 12 paper pads. I just chose a few different patterns of Hessian, different colours, and I've just backed all 9 of the pennants and re-punched the holes. So that's the first bit. So let me just try and get the camera a little bit squarer, and I will start showing you some of the other things. So what I've decided to do is to start by putting a rosette in the centre of each of the pennants. So I've done 3 styles of these rosettes. I've got the gold with the white trim, and that's got a little bit of gold sparkly tulle over the top. I've got a cream with a white and gold trim, and again that's got a little bit of sparkly tulle over the top. And then I've got this one. Now I've done 4 of the other 2, 4 of each, but I've just done 1 of this one, and this is going to be my centrepiece rosette, and I've got a little quote that I'm going to pop in the centre of that one. So I didn't want them to be quite as fussy as the others, because obviously I want the focus on that to be totally on the sentiment. So those are the rosettes that I have created. I've then started making things to decorate them. So I've got some doilies that I've cut out of gold card, and some that I've cut out of it's like a cream pearlised paper. So they're cut ready. I've then got these. Now these are all different types of what I think of as autumnal sort of flowers, and these remind me of like dandelion clocks. So I made various different types of those, and some of the tiny little heads as well floating off. So on these ones, all I've done is I've cut them out of a patterned paper from my scrap drawer, and then I've popped a little bit of glue up on the sort of seed head bits there, if you like, and I've popped them into some flocking, some velvet flocking. It's actually supposed to be for nail art, but I buy it to use in my crafting. So I've put some of those in there. These to make the dandelion clocks, I've done the same thing in that I've cut it out of patterned paper, just from a scrap straw. And this fluffy stuff on the top there is actually from packaging. You sometimes get some packaging that it's like a cross between a foam and a polystyrene. It's quite fibrous. And all I've done is I got a foot file. I bought a foot file from a cheap Poundland or something like that, and I've just grated it. I've grated the foam stuff, and it's created this really soft, wispy sort of fluffy mix. So that's what I've coated those in. And these, I've coated these in some, this is like a foamy type stuff. I think I bought this from AliExpress, and I think it was supposed to be a fake snow, but when it came it was cream and not white, and I thought, well, I don't really want to put cream snow on my projects. That's not the look I'm going for. So I've just popped it in a jar, and I thought actually it was perfect for that. It was a different texture, a different colour, but on the same sort of theme. And then also you can see in the pot here, I've just got lots of little sprigs in greens and golds. I've inked all the edges of those, and they're ready to go. So that's that pot. Just pop all these back in. I think this is going to be quite a long video. Hey ho. Then I've done another pot of the same sprigs that you just saw in there, but instead of inking the edges on these ones, I've cut them out of a darker green, and then I've used Nouveau drops on the edges to create a sort of berry look. And I've done a whole pot of those. Flowers. Lots of flowers. I've created lots of different ones in all different colours and shapes and sizes. Most of these flowers I have made myself from scratch. The only ones that I haven't are the roses. And these I've just altered. I've just bought the paper roses and I've inked them, inked the edges, and then I've glittered them. I don't usually bother making paper roses because they're so cheap to buy and so easy to get hold of. I always buy the cream ones or the white ones, and then I just alter them and just ink them up myself. So, but other than those roses, all of these other ones I have made using various dies or punches, and then various things popped in the centres here, a little bit of eyelash trim on some of them. A few of them I've put some leaves on, and then I've made loads of these tiny little, I call them filler flowers because they're brilliant. Just if you've got a tiny little space that needs to be filled, you can pop a few of those in. So yeah, those are the flowers that I've made for this project. Now I have got a tub of other flowers. It's something I quite like to make. So if I don't have enough there, I can always raid my stash. I've also been making more foliage. This time I've cut out ones that look a little bit like skeleton leaves, and I've heat embossed them. So it gives them that metallic-y look. I like heat embossing on die cuts because it gives it a rounded look. When you just cut out a foiled paper, you get that raw white edge. When you heat emboss, obviously the embossing powder flows over all the edges and you get that much more finished and rounded look. And if you use a metallic one, like I've done on these, you often get a sort of faux metal look. So I really, really like those. In this tub here, I've got some berries, just that I bought from the pound shop. Some little foam mushrooms. These came from eBay or AliExpress. I think they were probably about £1 for about 40 of the things. And then I've made some from a little die set that I've got. Again, I've just used my scraps. Whatever I had in my scraps jar, tub that was going to be in the right colour range, I've just cut. And again, I've done a little bit of inking. Sorry if that went out of focus there. I've done a little bit of inking just to make it look a bit more realistic, I suppose. Although you don't very often get pink spotty mushrooms, I suppose. This next one is all just embellishments that I've bought. It's all different types of berries. Again, these have come from eBay, AliExpress, Amazon, places like that. And they're really, really cheap. I think these were like 30-something p for a little bunch. These are about £1 for a whole bunch like that. And you get them in all sorts of colours. I've got pinks and blues, whites, gold, all sorts of colours in those. Some leaves again, these are from AliExpress. I love it at AliExpress for embellishments, ribbons, trims, things like this. I don't think you can go wrong. These were £1 or so, and there was all different colours of leaves that came in the pack. There were some blues and purples and things like that, but obviously for this project that's not what I wanted. And then some gold leaves that I picked up. These are quite nice for tucking behind, just gives it a little bit of sparkle and shine, and it sort of separates your foliage out a little bit so you can see more what's there. I also cut and inked some wreaths, some just twig wreaths. I thought they were quite autumnal looking, so just cut and inked around the edges with distress inks on those. I've also made a little pot of pumpkins and fir cones, pine cones. Let's see if we can pop one up. That's better. There we go. So again, all I've done with these is I have cut them out with the die, inked all around the edges, and then cut the little toppers out in a contrasting colour, and pop those together. This was a little die, struggling to get that one. Oh, there, you can just about see it there. This was a die, all the pieces pop out of this, but obviously I wanted to keep them all together, so all I've done is that after I've cut it, I've just put a little bit of tape on the back, just a little bit of micropore tape, and then just trim around the edges, and that left me then with a sticky surface that I could pop all of these little bits back into. The light's not great in here today. As I've said before, I am actually, I craft in my conservatory, which is fantastic in that it's lovely and bright, but it doesn't always make for the best filming, unfortunately. I also cut loads of different ferns, just in all different greens. And again, all I did here was raid my scraps jar, see what I'd got, and I've just cut what I've got, to be honest. So we've got those, and also some pine boughs. You can always trim these down. If you don't want the whole thing, you could always just trim a little section off, and use that in your projects. So I've got those. I've got this pot here, which is all autumnal leaves. Now what I did for these is, see if I can get my camera to focus. That's better. All I've done with these is I've cut them out of brown paper. Just the sort of wrapping paper that you wrap parcels in. And then I have coloured them all with various different alcohol markers, in obviously autumnal oranges and reds, greens, browns, all those sorts of colours. And then where I've coloured them, I've coloured on a silicone mat. So any of the ink that's gone over the edges is then beaded up. And then what I've done is press the lighter leaves into that ink to give that slightly mottled effect that you do tend to get on autumn leaves. So they took quite a while, but I do love them. And I think, yep, there's loads there. I probably won't use them all in this project, but I've got them for future projects. And the last bit that I cut out, die cut wise, was the sentiment. Now this comes in little sections. I've cut it in, I think I cut it 3 times, and layered it up. And then I have put it all together. Now, this is where I always lay it out wrong. And I'm missing my W. Ooh, I have to find my W. But what I've actually done is keep the scrap, the first one that I cut it out of. So when I come to lay it out, I can refer to this for sort of placement and stuff like that. So that's my sentiment. And then last but not least, I've got my lovely images that I've coloured. I've Copic coloured or alcohol marker. I've actually got a combination of all different types of alcohol markers, but I've coloured them all in the alcohol markers, ready to be used on this project. So, ooh, struggling with the focus today. So there we have it. Far too many to even fit in the shot. There were so many fantastic images in this month's release, and I just couldn't stop colouring. I kept thinking, oh, I'll just do one more. I'll just do one more, and that's where I ended up deciding that I was going to have 9 pennants. It'll fit lovely across the wall in my craft room, but also there's 8 main images in what I've coloured. So there's the 4 lovely ladies, and then we've got the 4 lovely foxes as well. So I thought I'd do 8 pennants with the images, 4 of the ladies, 4 of the foxes, using some of the accessories along the way, and then the centre pennant, obviously with the Do What You Love, which I thought was really apt and appropriate, seeing as it's to go up in my craft room. And again, I'll use some of the accessory images on that pennant as well. So that was quite lengthy in itself, just having a look at what I've coloured up and got ready to create. So I think what I might do is upload this as 2 separate videos. I might upload this first one showing what I've been creating, and then I will film making 1 or 2 of the pennants, upload that as a second video, and then I will put some finished images on my Instagram page, which again, you'll find the links down below for my Instagram. So I'll leave that one here, and I will meet you back in the next video to look at putting these pennants together.